Running. Got it. Says we're going. I think we are. Refresh. Ah, look at that. We're actually online.
Ta-da!
Oh.
All right.
How's it going?
We're good. How about you?
Not bad. It's been a while since we've done a Rapido Live. I guess we did one at the open house in October, which is geez, 2 months ago now already. Hard to believe.
Wow.
But yeah, it's been a while. So good evening, everybody. I think everyone's just kind of slowly joining up. Yeah, it's the first Rapido Live we've done in a while. We've got Bill Schneider in his layout room, which Jason's very jealous of. So got Tony Cook from Auto Railroad News, White River Publishing, and Jeff, one of our, I don't think you've ever been in one of our live streams, have you?
I haven't been on a live stream until now.
Yeah, Jeff's one of our newest project managers because it's been about a little over a year.
A little over a year, yep.
Yeah, and he's in Chicago, and he's got a bunch of projects he's going to be talking about tonight. So we're going to be going over a lot of our deadlines that are coming up this month. Several that are actually, I think, what's the 15th, which is next week, I think, week or so away. We got several products that we're going to be looking at. We've got several new samples that we've never shown before of several different projects. Again, a lot of those are bills, and we've got some other great new stuff, shipping, and yeah, all kinds of things. So
Product updates, yeah.
Product updates. We got a few things that are going to be shipping in the next month or so. We've got a few things that are shipping right now. So we will dig right into it, I think. So what do we want to start with here? I guess we should go right to the deadlines. And
I have a list.
Yeah, we have a list here. I have a list on the side.
We're so organized.
I know, exactly. Usually we're not when we do these, or I'm not. I'm just going to wing it. So I think we're going to start with the Metra F40PHMs, M-2s, that is. And please don't mention 210 because we're not doing it. And moving right along from that.
Unless we don't mention.
I got to put the disclaimer in because that's going to be the number one comment on everything we do. So you have the samples there, Jeff, don't you? Sort of.
Yes, yep.
Good.
And I can show those off. Give me 1 moment to grab them and put them here.
Sure. So what I'm going to do, I will put up the sales pack, and then in a second, because this is coming up pretty soon, and I'll also grab, we've got the latest model shots. So Jeff took some photos of the T1 samples anyway, a couple weeks ago, I think 2-3 weeks ago, and we'll show those off in a minute. So yeah, this is a pretty exciting project. This kind of really goes along with our Bud gallery cars. That's the Burlington, ex-Burlington cars. So yeah, the order deadline is coming up on the 15th. And those are actually the renders that we have right there. But we actually
they're not all.
Yeah, there's photos right there, actually.
So this one I'm holding currently is the as delivered version. There are some changes that they went through as they got rebuilt more recently. So as delivered, you have a front pilot. You have 2 beacons on top. One was a general kind of on beacon. One is an alarm beacon that almost apparently never came on, according to engineers I've talked to. There's a whole ton of lights up front, like dish lights, headlight, gyro light. There's another red emergency light. And then there's a little bit of grab iron changes on the back. And then by comparison, on the rebuild versions, instead of a pilot, you get a plow on front, and along with the plow, there is they removed the general beacon. Oh, wait, yep, they removed the general beacon on this, and there's a PTC antenna as well. And then grab irons change on the rear, and a couple other subtle changes. The side cab window changes too. We have a video that's just about to come out that reviews some of that and shows you some prototype footage to give examples.
That video is actually out right now. Just went up this evening, I think, earlier this evening. Let's see if I can share some of these photos. I got the close-up photos that you took. I think it was just on your roof, I guess.
Yes, it is on my roof. Feel free to share those photos. These are also pre-production photos, so this is a great example of the kind of changes that we do make after those first samples come in. One of the simplest changes is there is not a chain on the right side, so there is no longer going to be a chain on the right in that rear shot, among other things. We've also adjusted some things to make them fit better, have better dimension. Like we've already changed the Q fan housings and things like that. And that, or maybe go back one shot, Jordan.
Yep, the paired shot there.
Yeah, so that shot there again shows both the rebuilt version on the left and the as delivered version on the right, as delivered with the pilot, and it has the rectangular window on the cab, and has the two beacons on top, and then on the left, the rebuilt version when they came back from Progress Rail. This is from 2016 onwards. They came back with the plow, with this square rounded corner window, with some different gasket changes, a PTC antenna on top, and a couple other details that get flipped around.
And these actually, even though they're T1 samples, they turned out quite nice.
For first shot, for first parts, yeah. And Jeff, you're right. That's one of the hardest things is to describe to people is, you know, oh, look at that sample and everything that's wrong with it. Well, that's why we get this sample is to review it and pick up everything that's wrong with it. And
yeah,
review it. This is not necessarily the finished product.
And there's a, like one example too in that shot is there's a chain on that rear truck, and it has a pretty fragile mounting system in reality once you translate it into a model. So we've already added some pins to make that a little bit more durable in handling, because it was easy to push it in by accident.
It's a nice little diorama you got there.
And you even got the
rail joints and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. It's all there.
I'm impressed.
We need to use this for more model shots.
I need to make a new one that's more of an embankment. The problem is that is 100% flat, so it doesn't hide anything. So it's one of the many projects to get to. Make a better. That shot, if you hang on that, one thing that's pretty wild about these engines, you think like F40 is an F40, but the way that those air tanks and the piping for the air tanks are on this engine is so much different than every other F40. In particular, there's a ton of piping. Also, as a curious historical fact, I believe these were the last engines manufactured with a 645 engine by EMD, at least for domestic production, because these were made in 1992. And by that point, they already were cranking out SD60s and things like that with 710 engines. But Metra ordered these to get compatibility with all their previous earlier F40s. So they actually kept the older 645 power plant in them. And they also ended up being the last engines manufactured at LaGrange in Illinois. So when the last one of these of the 30 unit order rolled off the line, that was the end of production, and it all moved to Ontario after then. What already wasn't in Ontario, that is.
It looks like the sander lines on the outside there are going to be metal or brass. Is that new? I don't remember that on the other F40 run.
That is new, and we're going to discuss that a little bit just to make sure it makes the most sense. Sometimes we do them in like a flexible plastic, so that could be another potential change by the time. Other little changes too, like the mirrors, the side mirrors on the windows, those have been adjusted to be a better size, that kind of thing.
And you had these running at the Museum of Science and Industry a week or two ago, I believe.
Yeah, so just because that layout really represents, in a loose sense, the racetrack, I stopped by the museum and was able to show them, get a sense of what they run and look like on that layout. And then what really surprised me, the two gentlemen who basically have a full-time job running that layout were super generous. And once we got it going on the loop that just goes around to represent commuter service, that the head guy, William there, he just put it on the entire layout. So effectively it ran all the way to Seattle and back several times, because that layout does represent the BNSF all the way Chicago to Seattle. And it didn't fail, given that it was tossed into one of the world's most demanding layouts, in the sense that that layout is on 7 days a week, 8 to 12 hours a day, and they just burn through locomotives. So something definitely has to be reliable to be on that layout.
And I think we'll definitely look at getting a set or two of these in the gallery cars on there once they ship next year.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, Billy, you were saying something there a second ago?
No, I said for the reliability too, for a first sample, which is often very cobbled mechanically. That's great. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. So that's the F40 PHMs. I guess I could go back to the I've still got you pinned here for some reason. But yeah, there we go. So we'll go back to the sales pack really quickly, and then we'll move on to the gallery cars. We'll try to keep it to maybe 3 or 4 minutes for each item here, because we got a lot to go through. But yep, there's the just a quick look at the sales pack. There's the December 15th order deadline, which goes over some of the details. This information is also on our website at rapidotrains.com, and we have different paint schemes. Now, this isn't every version, I think, of the F40 PHM schemes, but I guess we've got 4 different ones here. Jeff, you can probably talk about more about the prototypes than I can on these, but
yeah, I mean, another oddity of doing these locomotives is that unlike almost anything, there's only one order and one owner. There is nobody else who has ever had these engines aside from Metra. But nevertheless, even though you're looking at 4 different schemes, there are 2 schemes we haven't yet done. As delivered units did not have that white stripe on the bottom. That was seems like later 90s ad. So the biggest period of their usage, late 90s to mid 2010s, has the red, the blue, and the white stripe. But the first couple of years only would not have had the white stripe, nor did they have air conditioning at first. And then another scheme we haven't yet done, because it's quite new, is instead of the silver roof on the rebuilds in that 3rd scheme at the bottom of the fade, they're now doing that with a black roof. So the current fleet is kind of a mixture of both silver roofs and black roofs, and we could certainly offer them in the future as well.
Very nice. And one kind of footnote on these. Yes, Amtrak had the 2 F69PHs that look very similar to these, but actually aren't the same. They had a different car body, a whole bunch of different equipment. They were mechanically totally different, but just the nose looks very similar. So unfortunately, we can't use this tooling to make those very unique locomotives, but that would be fun to do, though.
Yeah, really obvious difference is that their hood, or the car body, extends all the way to the end. It doesn't have that walkway on the end, so it's already changed in that sense.
Yep. Exactly.
Are these built on the same wheelbase as an F40? I mean, you talked about the mechanism being new. Is this a different die-cast frame and all? Is it that much different than the regular F40s that you've done?
It is the same wheelbase, but that's where it seemed really similar, and then you get to even the fuel tanks and the air tanks and the piping, it's like, wait a minute, it's all somehow different again. So the similarities sort of end after the wheelbase, and some of the, like on the hood, there's similarities as well too.
And again, the order deadline's coming up on the 15th. We should be seeing these probably summer, fall of next year sometime. It does, like any locomotive or project like this, it does take several months of production to get them finished. So, but of course, we'll be posting updates as we go along. Now, very quickly, let's look at the gallery cars. I know we'd pushed this order deadline back by a month. Open back that same screen again. So this is now, we've kind of reopened those books for a few more weeks. Jeff, you got some, you just got them today. The latest samples.
Yeah, how about Jordan, if you talk about them from just a moment, I'm going to get a better light on me so that when I show that sample, you can see it a little better. So just
absolutely.
Bear with me for 1 moment.
So actually showing, so I got the sales pack here. This is actually showing the T1 samples, as we call them, the early pre-production samples of the gallery cars. These cars in particular are the CB&Q versions that were rebuilt with head-end power. I guess that was in the early 70s. And we've got several different paint scheme variations that we're doing on them. So we've got the earlier the Burlington Northern logoed cars. We've got Metra in the kind of the mid 2000s and newer, either with Burlington name board or the BNSF name board. And we've also got the painted unlettered versions, which come with the placards inside. If you want to kind of build your own, you can do that as well. Decal your own up. A lot of people are asking why we're not doing the original CB&Qs. Those were the steam heated cars, I believe. We are looking at doing those in the future, as well as there's also the other roads. There's the Rock Island cars. There's the Milwaukee Road cars, which are actually different bodies. There's different fluting styles. Actually, if you look at the video that we put on our YouTube page today, Jeff goes into more detail about all of the different body variations and road names and whatnot. So definitely, if this particular release is successful, we're definitely going to look at doing the other ones down the road. And so far, the sales have been quite good on these, so we've been very happy with how they've been going.
Well, they cover a lot of territory. You know, you mentioned the CB&Qs, but as far as eras go, I mean, you go all the way back to, were they late? When did they get converted over to HEP in the early 70s, maybe mid 70s, when the E units were rebuilt? Yeah. So yeah, lots of years, lots of eras for modelers to catch these, and a well-needed car in a high-end release. That it's kind of one of those really nobody's. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And they're still totally in service today somehow.
Oh yeah. Well, they're built by Bud, so they're built to last for a long, long time. So you've got the let's see if they're. Hold on.
We're going to unblur this.
Stop sharing for a sec there.
Defuzz yourself.
You're very blurred out. See if I can spotlight you there.
There we go. So this particular one, which is the first one I grabbed, that would be an. We're still getting samples clarified in terms of era specific details, but an earlier version would have the marker lamps and the steam heat piping, or sorry, the conduit like that. This is a coach cab car. A little bit tricky to see, but that's going to have all the full lighting package. These are sprung diaphragms that work really nicely. So far, just in running these on layouts, they roll really well. They close couple really well. They go around curves with no issue. And each car will be lighted on both levels and has marker lights and things like that too. Then it has the ability, if you wanted, to add your own decoder for the cab car, if you're interested in doing that.
That's essentially a one-car train. You have a cab on one end and marker lights on the other.
There you go. Yeah.
Whoops.
And then, depending on which era, you have different placards and such, because up into the present, like a cab car doesn't necessarily have this.
Right.
So that the artwork will be the versions that you'll see as product offerings.
So are these class brake car? Are these class brake cars, or are they disc brake, or what's the brake system?
They are class brake. Yeah, there we go.
Nice. So it's neutral. Yeah.
And LED lighting interior, and you say that they've got all the in lights. Will they be DCC, or you talked about a decoder? What about like putting? I assume they have a horn on the cab car in. So is there like a sound potential, or?
Yeah, there is sound potential. So underneath, we've designed it so the shell should lift off easily. To give you access, pull the shell off, and then you could put in a decoder. You already have the lights and everything in there. And I think I'm going to check about a speaker in terms of that already being installed, but lighting is definitely all there in terms of marker lights, the headlight, gyro light, ditch lights. Well, ditch lights would be a little different just because of service time. When these were cab cars was barely when ditch lights came into use, but
it's also a quick look at the underbody there. This is actually I very quickly shot those samples you have before I shipped them out yesterday. So again, these are very rough photos, but there's some quick shots of these. You see full interior there, track powered lighting. There's different horns, different kind of cab arrangements depending on. Actually, let me see if I can get that last photo here. Has all three. You can see the different headlight and lighting variations on the three different styles.
And I saw 22-inch radius as close as those were coupled. and everything. Wow. What's the coupler pocket setup? Does it have like swing to it, or?
It actually is a standard coupler, but in terms of DC versus DCC, what I can say is running these on the Museum of Science and Industry layout, that is an entirely DC layout. And we just tossed these right on and they ran fine. They have pretty broad curves, but in terms of like consistent lighting, they stayed on and didn't flicker, and had no problem taking the curves with the coupler boxes.
You'd probably be best to run them on at least a 22, although they're probably a 24 is what they'd be happiest on. They are a very large car, of course.
Actually, yeah, you just we were at Lombard Hobbies showing these there here in Chicagoland area and ran them on their little like 4x8-ish layout, which is 22. And we've run them on just Unitrack that's 22 radius. So they definitely take 22.
Nice.
That should be fine.
Boy, the detail is astounding. You don't think about all the front end, the cab end, the conduit stuff underneath, down around the coupler stuff. It's like, wow, that is nice.
Closer look, and I believe this is the Steam version. I don't think we've actually announced the Steam version yet, but we've got a lot of the details there ready to go when the time comes. And I'm sure we'll do those in the second release.
Yeah, a note about that earlier version with Steam Heat. One thing is that, like for the current version, it's still in service. We were able to get access to the shops, measure them, get underneath them. Aside from having good drawings, we have real-time access. But when it comes to Steam Heat being, say, mid-50s to 1973, without really good drawings or that kind of detail, up-close photography of that detail, we haven't yet gotten enough information to do them with the same amount of like accuracy. So one thing with a project like this is usually once you get out this first version, you get even more information pouring in, and hopefully you can move ahead on the next versions with that. So we're certainly interested in doing them. We just are starting with this rebuilt version, but I mean, what's crazy is that that's 1973 to today, which is 50 years.
50 years, exactly.
That's 50 years. So it's pretty
I don't know how,
standard.
but it is. Yeah. And they're going to be what, 3-car sets, and then individual you can supplement with singles of what are the single version cars? Can you buy more cabs, or what are the different body styles?
Definitely coaches. And then Jordan, if you have that sales pack,
let me see if I can. I think I closed it. Let me just give me about 1 minute here, and I will pull it back up.
And with you can get with placards on the side and without as well.
Here we go. Scroll down there. So that shows all of this. This is just the first release versions. We just can't do every single version in the first run, but lots of time for a second release. And there's the painted unlettered cars, so you can decal them up or add whatever numbers or logos you want to have on there.
You've got what, 2 3-packs and then an unnumbered individual car? Is that how we're doing this?
Yes, correct.
Yep.
So yeah, get your orders in again December 15th, just like the F40s. And on that note, I guess we want to move over to the NPCUs, because that is the other December 15th deadline. So this is the latest release of our NPCUs. We had the video. We had a video of them for them go up. I guess it was a week or so ago. We have the phase 3 and the phase 5, phase 5 or 6 that we did do in the first run. But we also have the latest version of the Downeaster scheme and the veterans. There's 2 veterans units. We've done those for the first time. I actually don't think when we did the first one, I don't think they painted these 2 yet, but we have those included in this release. So very exciting stuff. A lot of people asked us to do the vets units, so there they are. We actually had a lot of people asking for the Cascades NPCUs. we'd love to do them, but they need new tooling. There's a lot of differences on those, so we'd like to do them one day, but for now, we're doing these 4 in this release.
And that new variation on the Downeaster with the like Downeaster emblem on the side. I see a bell up between.
so,
I didn't realize that.
More recently, I think it's only in the last 4 or 5 years, 5, 6 years, they have a new bell mounted between the number boards. And in the previous release, we did phase 4, and we also did this paint scheme, but with the white lettering. The Downeaster lettering was a different color, so we've done, this is kind of the latest variation of this Downeaster paint scheme. I think the logo is a larger size too. I could be mistaken, but I believe that also changed. And of course, the veterans unit there, which I think that's probably been our #1 seller in this batch. But yeah, these are going to go into production probably really early in the new year, and we'll get them probably sometime middle of next year. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is the second release, so very popular.
It's an incredible model. It's one of those you think, oh, sure, at an RPM meet, somebody might cobble one of those together, but no, you're never going to buy one of those and take it right out of a box. I mean, when I first saw them, it's like, no way, like that. It's an amazing piece.
Oh, absolutely. And they really do run kind of all over the US. I mean, if you're modeling, they run down in California, all over in the LA area. You've got them in the Bay Area too. You've got them running on the Cascades out of Seattle and into Vancouver, BC as well. And of course in Maine, and a lot of them are out of Chicago. Jeff, I think you said there was a lot of them, including number 200 was down in Chicago. You got a photo of that not too long ago.
Yeah, actually, the funniest thing is a couple weeks ago on the Hiawatha set, one of the sets, 9200 is on it, and there's so much accumulated dirt on the side that someone, whoever, is scrawling stuff into the dirt, and on 9200 somebody scrawled cabbage.
Nice, very nice.
That's crew member.
Does anybody know where Jason was that day?
It wouldn't
the
surprise me.
P42 on that set has test dirt, do not remove.
Well, that unit 9200, that's the original F40. That's the class unit that Amtrak got. Well, back in '76, I think I want to say.
200, I think was its road number. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That unit has actually that very long career. I think it's actually spent more time as an NPCU now than it did as an actual F40. But good long career for that one. So again, that's the NPCUs. Deadline is on the 15th. Now, one deadline that we actually had announced for this month, we are actually going to be pushing back. We're sending out a newsletter tomorrow, which will have more information. But that is the Head End Power Chicago E units, and also the CN and Illinois Central executive units, and the Amtrak Head End Power E units. I think I'm covering all the bases there, if I'm not mistaken. But Bill, why don't you talk a little more?
Executive units and the right.
Yep.
So this is a case of, despite our best efforts and timing, the things are off by about a week or so. I was in China the beginning of November and sat with the factory, reviewed the samples. They looked fantastic. I said, can you guys get me fully decorated working samples in time for our December 15th launch? And they said, sure, no problem. Well, apparently there was a problem in some of the ejection parts that they had to do some tweaking to, and they're running about a week behind where they thought they would. So we won't have a sample until probably a week to 10 days from now. So we decided that rather than launch them with just a render, which is in the video and it looks real nice, but we want to show off the actual model, show off the lighting features and so forth that we've got in it. So we have some BN units coming, and we have some Conrail OCS units coming, and we'll do a little video on those and give them a push. And I think we bumped the deadline down to February 15th. Is it now?
March 15th is the new deadline. So that should give us enough time to lots of time to get the samples, display them, show them off. I do have. I guess I have the render. I can show that really quickly.
Yeah, sure. Welcome to show the render, but
sure.
It doesn't do the parts justice that I saw.
Absolutely not. So yeah, they'll look so much better in person, of course. But yeah, there's the quick. Jeremy, I think Jeremy threw this together, or Michael. I'm not sure which one, but they're looking really, really nice.
So a couple different styles of guardrail. on the side. We're doing both the vertical and the horizontal, depending on the unit number. We've got, this is the exhaust hatch on the back with the exhaust stacks on it, exhaust pipes. We've also got what I call the pagoda hatch, which is a separate piece, so that again we can do the correct hatches, and then some detail variations in terms of grab iron placement and so forth. Just within the BN. This is the BN unit.
Very nice. And again, we'll be talking more about that later in the winter. We'll probably get a video up early in the new year once we get those samples and when they're ready to show. So I won't spend too much time on those because we will be talking about those again, like I said, in the coming month or two. But we have a whole bunch of other stuff. Bill, you got a goodie box this week, didn't you? This week or last week of
So since I've gotten back, they've been bombarding me with samples to the point that I can't keep up with checking them at this point. So yeah, we've got all sorts of good fun stuff to take a look at. So,
all right, so
what would you like to start with?
What's that?
What would you like to start with on your list?
Why don't we start with the NP Gons?
Right.
Is that the one that's most convenient to you there? So
they're hopefully all up here. Give me a minute. Let me see if sharing the screens work.
So yeah, we're gonna just
back and forth between Zoom and now, so I'm trying to remember how to work everything.
There we go.
Okay. So yeah, this is the, and again, first injection sample of the NP Gon. This is a car. There were 500 or so built in 1940, and I'm very happy with the way that this is coming out so far. Again, first injection samples, we've got some tweaks, but overall we're pretty happy with it. Full underbody and brake rigging detail.
Those are all die cast. I guess the doors and whatnot are all die cast.
So the floor itself. Let me just. Well, this will show. This is also this is the version we're doing for the Northern Pacific Society, which is the extended height car. But yes, the entire floor is one die cast piece. So
Nice.
the car has great weight to it. Rolls great. We've been playing around with tolerances and materials on our trucks and so forth. That these roll much better than some of the previous cars. They're very happy with the way this is for a first shot.
Mm-hmm.
Was running it around here on the layout earlier and really enjoying it.
And to know this is the first time this car has been done correctly in plastic. There's been other cars that have been like other railroads. Cars for other railroads that have been painted for Northern Pacific, but this is the first time this has been done with the correct details.
This is the NP cars were different than the UP cars or the SP cars or other cars in terms of number of differences, grab irons versus ladders and different sill configurations, different underbody configurations. So yeah, it really is a different car.
Bill, what are down at the corners there, like where the polling pocket would be? What are those little like starfish looking things?
They're the doohickeys. They do so. They actually you'll see along the edge here. There's a
it's the okay, yeah.
So that's to wind the chains for the course. Yep.
This, when it was announced, my first thought was, for a company that loves to talk about underbody detail, man, this is the gondola for you.
It's all hanging out.
It's all underbody detail.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no side skirts or anything like that. So
no, there's no hiding it on this car. If it's not there, you know about it pretty quickly.
Yep. And again, these are an essential Northern Pacific car, whether it's the standard or the extended height cars. If you go to the Northern Pacific Historical Association's website, you can order the high sided or the extended sided gondolas there. The standard ones, like the one shown, you can buy pre-order through our website, through any hobby shop, and the NP Society also has an exclusive bunch of numbers for the low-sided cars as well. This is a really cool car. Make sure you get your orders in. I think we haven't set an order deadline quite yet for them.
We've not, and again, this is the first time we've actually seen parts, seen samples. So yeah, we'll do some more promotion on these now that we've got something real as opposed to a rendered show.
Absolutely.
Bill, I assume these made it past Northern Pacific. Are there BN?
There are a number of them that made it into BN. A lot of them for maintenance and work train service. Some of them got repainted into various BN work service car schemes. I think I've seen one photo of one in green. So yeah, and then there were a lot of them that were just patched out. They full Northern Pacific lettering, they just with the BM reporting marks. Yeah,
And on that note, if anyone out there has photos of these cars in BN service or anything, please like that, please reach out. We'd love to see that. Potential for a second release down the road.
Okay.
So that is the NP Gons. I guess we should have a look at. We just have the renders, but we should have a look at that other NP project, the day-night coach.
Yes.
Let me see if I can bring the pack up for that. I think I've got that here ready to go. This is another NP project that we announced in October. And we want this to be, and the plan is that if this particular model is successful, we want this to be the beginning of a whole line of North Coast Limited cars.
So this is, I think the North Coast Limited is probably one of the trains that we've gotten the most requests for. And the Northern Pacific Society approached us with the idea of teaming up to do some of the cars for them, starting out with the coach, which seemed to be the logical one. So yeah, this is fully designed. We've done it as a conditional release. We're not actually tooling the thing up until we are sure there's enough interest in it. And so we're taking pre-orders right now on the car if you have an interest in it. So please, if you're an NP fan and want to see these cars happen, we need to know about it. But yeah, the car is essentially completely designed. These are CAD renders of the car. Full underbody treatment. This is an all new car from the ground up.
And also, like our Southern Pacific Dome Lounge, we have a 5% early bird discount, which applies to either pre-orders through our website or through your hobby store, and that's good until the 15th of January. And I believe the NP Society also has a number of exclusive numbers that they're doing as well.
Absolutely, NP Society is doing some exclusive car numbers as well, and yeah, so you can order through them as well, support the society. Works great for us as well. So yeah, we've got these in the Lowy scheme, both in Northern Pacific and with CB&Q reporting marks, and in the Streamline scheme, the two-tone green.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Very exciting stuff. And just think all the other cars that could come if this is successful. We have so many different North Coast Limited cars, the domes, a couple of different dome styles, and many other cars that can come down the line. This is the first one.
Without giving too much away, the dome is already about 3/4 designed, so we're hoping we get to it. So,
yes.
Yeah, and when we say getting an order in and the pre-order and so forth, we're not looking for any money up front. We're just looking for intention to buy, and then that's what we're going to judge the project on. Yep,
exactly. So again, January 15th, 2024. It sounds like it's a long time from now, but it's actually it's only about 5 weeks away. Yeah. So make sure you do get your orders in.
And that's when we make the determination. So
yeah,
we don't want the New Haven guys to be the only ones who run away with a whole series of passenger cars. So the Northern Pacific guys need to step up now and show these New Haven guys a little bit.
Well, we did it with the SP Dome Lounge, which Bill, you're also that's one of your other projects, and the response has been huge. So that's going into tooling pretty soon, I think, once you get that design done, and maybe that could be. I was just gonna say that could be the beginning of more SP passenger cars.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was fun, except for a couple of tweaks that Bob Zank sent me and a couple of things that I noticed that we just need to finalize. Bob's really good at finding this stuff. So.
Oh yeah,
been great working with him.
He's a great guy, knows his stuff, especially SP. Yeah, absolutely. And your passenger cars are works of art. That mid-train dome, I remember, I think had the Illinois Central and maybe Mopac on those. And wow, I mean, the top to bottom, inside out, those are fantastic cars. So awesome to see interest in both SP and Northern Pacific.
Speaking of the SP Dome, we actually got some interesting photos from Kevin Holland a couple days ago. I'll see if I can pull them up here. Just to go off on a bit of a tangent, but sent us some really neat shots. This is car 3601. It was leased, I believe this was 1964. CN leased it to put on its steam excursions in Southern Ontario. So this is 3601. It's a little bit of a different number than we're doing because I think it had some different underbody details. But if you're modeling Southern Ontario in the early 60s, there you go. You have a reason to buy these now.
And with heavyweight coaches and Jason's favorite scheme too. That's great too.
Wow.
This is absolutely Jason's favorite scheme of all time. Yes. So,
Wow, those are great.
Wow.
so beautiful shots. These
The
are
noodle
really
step, that's great.
I was just about to say, isn't that an awesome look at the step? Yeah.
But yeah, if you didn't have a reason to order these before, this might be an extra kind of excuse to pick one up.
These are great shots.
When do you think you'll see early samples? Are there? I know your 3D renderings confuse me, and I've had readers email me that too. Is that a real picture of those? They already have those Jeep 40s or whatever down.
Yeah.
Like, no.
You know,
Yeah,
Jeremy's doing such a great job on the renders that sometimes it is hard to tell.
I mean, you've now achieved like the Jurassic Park CGI dinosaur phase of these renderings. Now look very lifelike. So how close do you think the real models on these 3/4 domes?
As we were talking earlier, I've got a few changes to put into the design, get those finalized, and then we're basically ready to go to tooling. So we'll see where things end up in a couple months and give you an update from there. But yeah, we're very close to getting starting on tooling.
All right. So,
and just one comment on the renders too, if I could, because this has come up a few times. We don't do special CAD work just to do the renders to make them look pretty. These are actual. We've had that a couple of times. Oh, you know, now that you've done the render, are you actually going to start designing the car? No, the renders are done from the actual CAD design, and then all we do is put some pretty graphics on them. That's it. But that is the design of the car. So whatever words show up on the renders are there on the model, or hopefully the model comes out as nice as the render does.
Exactly. Now, moving on to things that aren't a render, Pennsylvania Railroad H21 coal hoppers. I believe that's another sample that you got recently.
Oh, I so much stuff. Hang on just a minute. Okay.
I was surprised at that background information on those. I just wrote that up recently to put in Model Railroad News, and the quantity and the longevity of those hoppers is like, really? Wow.
Well, yeah, Pennsy is didn't do things in small groups. There were 39,000 of these cars, and half of the Pennsy fleet was H21 class cars.
Right. That's
you have a layout with 2 Pennsy hoppers on it, and one of them is not an H21. Your layout is yeah, so we're doing 2 versions of the car. The car on the right here, that's the H21A, which is the earlier version of the cars. This one has the K-brake system on it, although we're doing both K and AB. And the one on the left is the H21E, which has never been done before. The differences, I don't know if you see my mouse, but a longer reinforcing rib across the top, power handbrake as opposed to the stem winder, a few other subtle details, differences in the sides and so forth. And then also inside, come back here. The H21A has cross ties on it. The H21E went to a kind of one-piece brace system, and also the center sill is different. So what you've got here is essentially 2 completely different models. They've got different floors, different sides, different ends, and the same trucks other than that. But yeah, again, these are first samples. They are like the little GLA hopper we did, which this is sort of an extended version. Full die cast chassis, separate wire grab irons on the thing. Karmer cut levers or the wire cut levers, depending on the class of cars in the era. Again, AB brakes or K brakes, crown trucks. So yeah, this is an essential Pennsy car for anybody who models from basically the late 1920s to into early Conrail. So these cars lasted an incredible amount.
Yeah, what is it, like half the fleet is still around at Penn Central in 68 in your information, and yes, some even make it to Conrail. It's like, wow.
Yep. and lasted in work train service. Yeah, these cars lasted, particularly the H21E, which is a little later build car, lasted for a huge number of years. And the sheer quantity of the things, you see pictures of photos of strings and strings of these on the Pennsy and pretty much every other railroad in the country. If they had two Pennsy hoppers, again, there's 50% chance one of them is one of these cars.
Are the truck side frames of those new tooled, or is that on the GLA Hopper 2? Those are really neat trucks.
These are new tooled. Yeah, it's the Crown is a heavy duty truck. They are neat trucks. Again, this is all for samples, so there's a few plastic sink issues and some spots and so forth. But again, for a first hand built sample, they were building these on the desks when I arrived in China, so it's neat to see these actually get done.
And I guess we have, this is another one, we haven't set the order deadline quite yet, but that'll probably be coming sometime early in the new year.
Right.
But we'll stay tuned to our newsletters for that. Yeah, they're looking very nice.
And these what come in, I think, 6-packs. Is that right, Jordan? And then you can buy them individuals too. So there would be what, six numbers?
So each 6-pack has you can buy the single cars from each pack. And there are quite a few different paint scheme variations and body variations depending on which version of the car you're looking at. I've just got the first page of the pack here. Shows all the different details and the era information and whatnot. And this is also available on our website. If you go to onto rapidotrains.com and the web page for these cars, you can also have a look at this document there. Of course, there's the other batch of paint schemes. These are the later schemes, 50s, 60s. Some of these lasted well into the 70s as well, if not late. Do you think these last into Conrail in regular service, or were they mostly gone by then?
I don't think they lasted to get repainted to Conrail, but certainly I think there were still probably a few Penn Central cars still kicking around and work train service, maintenance service, I would suspect, yeah.
And is this exclusive to Pennsy? You know, Pennsy would bill for Lehigh Valley and like Wabash, N&W roads that were kind of in its family, corporate, whatever.
For the most part, these were exclusive. B&O did some clones that were similar, but not exactly the same. And one small group of these got onto the Norfolk and Western for a short period of time, but they were primarily strictly a Pennsy car.
And of course, we have, and are those going to be coming undecorated or painted and just unlettered?
It's undecorated.
Okay, right. So you can kind of,
you can't cast in place. Yep, right.
Yes, exactly. All right, so that's the H21s. Making good time here.
Yeah.
What else have we got on the list? I know there's some more.
Well, if you want to keep talking about samples, well, I've got those up. And
sure.
Since we're on a Pennsy kick,
yeah,
seem to be. Another really neat little sample that just showed up is this little Duke.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, that's the X23 and the R7 Reaver.
Yep. So these are the X23 Boxcars. A car that was built in the teens and then lasted well into the 50s. This is again, first samples on these. We just shot them with a quick coat of paint. This is the split K-brake system the Pennsy used. The stem winder brake. This has got the Crico panel door on it. Archbar truck. So this is an early car. Couple different roofs on this. There was a lap seam roof and just a standard flat roof on these as well. They've done both. The R7, which had a quick slap-on paint job for our open house, so I take full responsibility for that. The R7 also got to Matthiasson Chemical, Fruit Growers Express and National car. So this is the Matthiasson Chemical car that had the placards on the side. AB brakes underneath, different brake gear. Again, stem winder brakes. The Fruit Growers cars got these big kind of door stops or hatch stops, so that when they opened the hatch and kept it off the roof, those are on the model. This is the other version of the X23 with the Youngstown corrugated door, so we've got both styles available. And this one has the cast steel trucks, the 2DFA trucks, and the AB brakes. So it's a later car, basically late 30s and so forth on. So yeah, those are looking pretty good.
Excellent. Very nice. So that, I mean, we've already gone over a lot of stuff, but what else were we going to look at? I guess we're going to look at the SD7s and 9s.
Did you have the Enterprise hoppers?
Oh yeah, the Enterprise. I
Yeah, we'll
have.
talk about that briefly.
Yeah, we'll do that first, and then look at the SDs in a minute there.
So this is kind of a case we were talking about earlier when you know, what we do with first samples, and in the case of the Enterprise car, we did get first injection samples on them and showed them very quickly, and the photos of those are on the website, and decided that there were a number of things that we wanted to change on them. So we just gotten CAD in, so I'll show you what we're doing once this decides to start sharing again. Are we there yet? There we go. Okay, so yeah, these are the CAD renders. Changes that we've made are we just could not get, the factory could not get down to what we wanted for ladder rungs, sizing and so forth on the end. So we've gone back over to wire grabs, which is where we wanted to be in the first place. So yeah, we're modifying the tooling for wire grabs, did some changes to the running board and the running board supports and so forth on the ends of the cars. Some additional wire parts that had been plastic on the first samples. And we'll be doing some retooling work on that now. And again, we'll finalize dates and so forth when we get the new samples.
And these are an important car for either if you are a New York Central modeler or a CN modeler. There's two very distinct versions.
So the car in the front is the New York Central, and the car in the back is the CN. The hatch arrangements are different. The end arrangements are different. The sides are different. So again, situation where they're largely two cars. But yes, they're with these diagonal posts in here. They were unique looking cars, and there are quite a few of them in the New York Central. They built several lots of them with a few different variations, and these lasted into well into Penn Central as well.
And CN's cars lasted longer than that. I think some of the maintenance cars into the 90s. And some of them were converted to ballast hoppers as well. I think there's one up in Barrie on the Barrie Collingwood still has one of them.
Some of them were converted to ballast. A lot of them were used as sand cars on the CN,
which is what we've included those in this release as well.
Right. Yep.
We photographed one at Expo Rail in just south of Montreal. There, they have one that's been preserved in beautiful condition, and that only was retired in the 90s, I think.
Yep. And the Penn Central used a number of them in sand service as well. Which we include the ones big S on the side for designating that service. And in a great situation of you announce a model and then information shows up. There was one reporting mark that I could not find a photo of, and sure enough, as soon as we announced the model, Morning Sun Books came out with a book that has a photo of a Revere sugar car in black with white lettering. So I'm going to see if we can squeeze that into the run here when we get to it. Now all of a sudden there's been like 3 or 4 photos that have shown up on mine, and they're just popping out of the woodwork. So yeah, so that's the Enterprise.
Excellent. So I think we'll just touch briefly on the SD7s, 9s, and 10s. We did announce these in October with I guess we did do a live stream for that when we were at the Valley Railroad. So we've got those. I guess I know, Jeff, you're doing some work on those right now. We still got some last minute stuff to clean up, but they should be ready for tooling probably early in the new year, maybe.
Yeah, we're getting really close to tooling, so just doing some final reviews and adjustments, and particularly, those rebuilt ones, the CNW and Milwaukee rebuilds get a little stranger than the as delivered ones. They did not like to do things alike, so just checking a bunch of little details and variations that were involved in those.
Let me just see if I can pull up the renders here again. And again, these are early CAD renders that we did for the launch. They're there have been and will be some more tooling updates, or sorry, corrections before we go into tooling on these, as Jeff mentioned. So we've got the this is the CB&Q, which is actually a Colorado and Southern ownership SD9. That's the later phase units that have kind of the slightly higher nose. We've got the C&W chop noses. We've got the Milwaukee Road SD10s, which are very, very cool. And we've also got the conditional paint schemes. I think we've got Sioux Line and Dakota, Minnesota, and Eastern, which I believe is
the Sioux Line is the hideous bandit patch out that they did.
Really cool. What do you mean hideous?
Yeah. And a fun fact about the DM&E is that they bought, or I guess acquired, both the C&W rebuilds and the Milwaukee rebuilds. And until they really revamped their fleet in the early 90s, they had these wild consists of like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these things, both in Milwaukee and C&W paint lugging stuff on their routes.
Wow.
and again, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just also to note on the Burlington CNS engine, aside from the high short hood being a little bit taller than the body, which has never been done before, since that's a later production engine, it only has the 2 fans in the rear rather than the 4 that most 7s and 9s came with.
First time in plastic for those, I think.
Yeah.
I think so. They go from the 436s to a pair of 48s. Yeah.
And
the
even
is the SP
sorry.
I'm sorry, is the SP, is that a steam generator, I assume, in the short hood?
Yep. So this is the SP. This is in Black Widow, of course. They were passenger units. They had a dual fuel and water tank with the big barrel headlights on there. These have they still have a couple of corrections to do. I know that some certain things like the snowplow and stuff like that they're being modified, but they're getting pretty close. So
yeah,
very exciting stuff. And again, this is just the first release. We've got so many paint schemes of SD7s, 9s, 10s, and more that we can do down the road. We get lots of requests, and like we always say, if you don't see it in the first run, just we'll probably get to them in a second or third or fourth run. There's so many different paint schemes and body variations that we can do. So that is the SD7s and 9s and whatnot.
I have a question. While I have you guys here, it just occurred to me, I had someone ask recently, they went from SD7, the 7 series, which was the F7 Jeep 7, SD7, they jump in 56 to the F9 Jeep 9, SD9. Why is there no 8? Because, and 7 and 9, they have no relationship to horsepower or anything. Is there any? I had no answer for that.
Was it different iterations of the 5, 6, 7 engines? I don't know for a fact, but maybe, I mean, there was an E8, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, again, it's kind of those I never thought about. And then when it got asked, like, oh, that is an interesting question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, they kind of jumped around with the F units. I mean, when they went from the FTs, they had the F2s, the 3s. They skipped 4. I think technically there was an F5, but they never actually called it.
Rio Grande and Burlington, kind of called them F5s, yeah.
Kind of like, I mean, you had all the E units, so you had.
Well, there was never an F6, I don't think.
Right, but there's an E6, and then
interesting.
Huh.
There's an article for it, Tom.
There you go. Yeah, a little bit of a conundrum. And yes, this is a great shot to show that height difference that I don't think everybody always knows or appreciates. But I think, well, if those 48 fans were bigger or something, did they actually lower the long hood, or is the short hood higher?
The short hood's higher. Yeah, I think they might have changed. Well, I think I saw it was a battery box change, but don't quote me on that.
And they lasted a long time. I think BNSF was still running them until very recently, until the last 8 or 10 years or something like that, maybe even more recent than that. I'm not an expert on BN's roster, but
yeah, I was surprised. I remember seeing some in BNSF around like the Kansas City area, and you'd stop and think of what that is and how old that is, and it's like, wow. And these are landmark pieces for you guys to add. This is EMD's first 6-axle freight locomotive is the 7. So very cool.
Exactly. It's very similar to how CN has kept their Jeep 9s around for so many decades. In fact, I happen to have the factory samples just arrived. This is the Jeep 9 RM. This is the mother from the mother slug set. I actually have the slug here too. So oops. There's the A unit and there's the slug. So we're going to be showing these off more pretty soon. Probably in the next week or so, we should have photos up of the first decorated samples, and they're actually pretty far along in production. So I think we're going to be seeing those late this winter, if I'm not mistaken. They should be coming pretty soon.
Well, if I could, while we're talking about units that lasted, or in this case, units that didn't last, this is one of the other goodies that showed up in my.
Oh,
this is the Santa Fe EMD remotor experiment on the PA, and with the EMD style cooling fans and a new roof hatch. As simple as this looks, about let's just make the EMD repower. All we need is a new roof. No, it's all new sides, a new roof, new nose, because they actually lowered the porthole. If you look at the door here on the side, the door was lowered, I'm guessing, to clear the radiators underneath, which meant a new side. And one of the units was plated over on the end here. The other one was not. So we've got that detail. No, I don't know why they're in so many different colors, but I guess it's what they have for chassis. This is the B in the back. But yeah, these are coming along well. Again, these are first samples. There's still some details to add in here, but we also made a couple improvements from the first run. The number boards are now part of the side, and a few other tweaks that we've done. So yeah, very happy with these.
wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Now we had an order deadline in November for these, but I think we're going to maybe reopen those books a little bit now that the samples have.
Now that we've got some samples, we'll keep taking orders until we're ready to start production. So yeah, if you feel like you missed them, send an order in anyway. We'll be happy to take them.
Absolutely. Do you have any other samples up your sleeve there that we haven't seen yet? I think.
I don't know. What have I got? No, I think that's it.
How's your layout doing, by the way?
What's that?
How's your layout doing, by the way? Anything new?
I have not had a chance to do any of my own modeling since before the open house in October. It's pretty sad. I did the samples for the open house, and then shortly afterwards I was doing some stuff for our town historical society for some train displays and stuff that we're raffling there. So yeah, I've been very busy with everybody else's work but mine. So I'm looking forward to getting back to it here shortly.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think it's time to talk about C30s.
Yeah.
Dash 7s, because
So-
somebody's got some new samples in.
Yet another thing. Let me get this.
It looks like they're being censored for.
We don't want to show too much.
So this is the first one we have now with full electronics. We're gonna get a video out very soon that'll show that off and feature it. Can't show it, of course, not on track power, but these do have low power, so they'll hold a couple seconds of lighting and power and things like that. I think a really interesting feature is there's never been a lot of particularity to C30-7 models, so we're doing a lot of things that are just pretty distinct with these. This is one of the two NNW NS versions, because NNW ordered 2 batches and they had some variations. This was the first sample, so it's a little bit of a mishmash. Bell in the end is only the first 40 or so engines. If you order NNW or NS, the number will determine which detail variations they get. But they have these triple class trucks, Adirondack trucks, that NNW ordered presumably for the steep grades, lots of heavy duty hauling, things like that. And on that note, we're making 5 different truck side frames. This is a Rockwell side frame with a sort of more gentle curve to it. Some side frames have high brake cylinders with that down there. or the brake levers down there. And then other road names, like kind of Santa Fe. Other road names with also, say, a Rockwell frame have low brake cylinders slung between the axles like that. And then the reason I mention all that is because what I'm excited about is our newest CSX sample has something really unique, which is two different side frames entirely. So on this number, CSX 7036, the front truck is a Rockwell side frame. The rear truck is an Adirondack side frame. This happened a lot on railroads where they had a big fleet, multiple orders, like BN, Santa Fe, CSX did different orders of C30-7s, and in those orders got different side frames. And what I was told by former employee of BN at, I think, the Lincoln shops is if they brought one of these into the shop and they did like a full overhaul of it, and they're basically reassembling all the components that they've overhauled, and they need to send it out to get more power out, and they're missing another Rockwell side frame on the back, they just put on whatever side frame they have in stock. And that's how this kind of thing happens. And in the case of this CSX engine 7036, I have 9 reference photos of it that I found, and all of them have the mismatched side frames like that. So we're going to produce the mismatched side frames like that with it.
On that note,
Not a factory mistake.
Yeah, not a factory mistake.
Well, it reminds me a lot of I remember seeing photos of CPFAs, FA1s, FA2s in the 70s, and they'd have a lightweight truck on one end and a heavyweight standard kind of truck on the other end of them, because they just, whatever they had at the shop at the time, they were getting towards the end of their lives, so there's whatever they had, throw them on there and put them back out on the road. But
yeah, in the future, when we do, say, especially Burlington Northern, which had so many of these, we can offer this variation where our current Burlington Northern offering in the first run is as delivered, where this wouldn't have been the case. They wouldn't have been shopped like that to do that. But certainly in future runs, if we do, say, white face, or we do ditch lights, or we do just later 2 window instead of 4 windows, we can do that. With CSX2, a little tricky to see, but some other things. CSX will come with ditch lights on the front, and just has a lot of different features because there were quirks to the original Family Lines units, and then CSX made them even more particular. I'll note too that side frame thing is only this road number, because only this road number is documented of the 4 we're going to have that. A lot of details change between the CSX road numbers. We're also doing as one comparison, trying to see if it'll be easy to see on camera, but on a CSX engine, the class lights are blanked versus on the UP engine, which is the other one, the class lights are working. And then some engines are later phase engines where the class lights are lower below the number boards, and then the number boards aren't flush. They're a raised removable like housing that made it easier to do maintenance on them. Lots of other phase differences too, like this would be a large exhaust, this would be a earlier smaller exhaust. So lots of things to look for in terms of details, and we'll have a more coherent update to the website of the C30-7 to really specify all of those variations now that we have the designs tooled up and finalized.
Well, we're talking about that. These are the early samples. These are the first samples we got. So there have been some revisions, but there's just, you can see they're all a little different. You got anti-climbers, ditch lights, the front, the flat pilot faces.
4 different plows.
Yep.
Can't we find a simple project to do, guys? I mean,
I've asked for the Ingalls 4S several times,
that'll be next month.
and
Yeah.
that's an easy one, I think, because I think the only thing that changes is a stack changes on its hood or something. So
what do you get? 2 versions of GM&O's paint scheme or something like that?
I think you can do an Ingalls demonstrator in tricolor and then reletter it Gulf Mobile in Ohio, and then it gets a dip in solid red. So, and you could do a fantasy ICG for me.
I'm sure someone would buy it.
There you go. Oh, he says someone.
We'll get right on it.
Okay. All right.
All right. What's next? gone we've gone over the C30s. We should probably look at some of the stuff that's coming up for delivery. We got a couple of N scale things that couple of N scale models that people have been really looking forward to that are arriving probably early in the new year. I think both of them might be already in transit. Let me see if I can pull some photos up here. Let's start with we've got the CN and Ontario Northland. That's the NSC barrel ore hoppers. They are on the way. I think they left the factory this week, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But see if I can get some photos here. These are really cool. We did the HO scale model, 2 years ago now, and this is the N scale version. So these are in transit. We just got the first samples this week or last week, and they're looking really nice.
That is such a neat car. Oh, is that that's that later version one, isn't it? That
Yep.
yeah.
So these were bought from Ontario Northland and CN in the 90s when the ore trains ended. I think it was around 1990 they ended. They sold many of them off, the long barrels in particular. This is the log barrel car. They were sold, I can't remember exactly what the service was, but they were actually operating on BNSF until like 2019, 2018, 19 before they were scrapped. So they got a good 50 years of service out of these cars, 45, 50 years. But there's 3 different versions, 3 different reporting marks anyways for those trains. I'm sure someone will comment what the actual the mineral was that they were carrying. But yeah, we've got three different reporting marks. Those are included. And of course, we got undecorated 2 versions. There's all the different parts. There's the short barrel car there. Some close-ups of the CN short barrels, both of them together. And these are in transit right now. So we should be seeing these probably in January, right towards the end of January or early February. These will be shipping out. Lots of nice underbody detailing there.
Nice.
There's, of course, the Ontario Northland progressive scheme on the short barrels. The long barrels only got the Chevron scheme. That was later when they were delivered. And the 3 second-hand owner cars there. So they are not far off, just a little over a month.
Cool.
Now, that being said, there is one other N-scale project that I believe left the factory or is leaving the factory very soon, if it already hasn't. And of course, I go into the folder and the photos aren't there. How these always work.
Our N-scale mystery project.
Exactly. There we go. It is the N-scale Angus van.
I thought Jason ate them all.
I was gonna say I
Yeah.
saw your Imperious leader eating one. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So these are leaving the factory any time now. Again, if I'm not mistaken, if they already haven't, we've got full lighting on the interiors. That's a battery powered light that's kind of mounted in the cupola. But we've got lots of different paint schemes. There's a look at the underbody detailing, full underbody detailing there. They look really nice. The guys were just testing them on the test track. I think we had all 18 paint schemes kind of running together. That's the CSX car.
They were working on these when I was in China, and I must say I was really N-scale for me. I don't often get excited, but these cars were really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time seeing it. Let's be honest.
Of course,
these were very, very nice.
Yeah, and these are zoomed in quite a bit, so you're looking at it about 3 times or 10 times the size that they actually are in person. But they do look very good. There's the CP Engineering Services. This is one of the maintenance away cars. They actually still run these today. They're still hanging around. They look very rusty now, but they are still in service. Even has the air conditioner on the other end there.
Yeah,
and full interiors on them too.
And it'll be LED lighting like the HO version.
LED lighting, which is battery powered in this case. Algoma Central, they bought some secondhand ones. So yeah, they are on the way very soon. Probably arriving. I'm gonna say they're probably arriving just after the barrel ore hoppers. Probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks behind them. But we'll see how that works out. We know shipping is always kind of a best guess. So.
We'll know when they get here. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think we've gone over pretty much everything. Maybe we could do some questions.
We'll say, do we have any comments or questions?
Someone's asking about a Point St. Charles caboose and N. We actually already did that. We did that for Prairie Shadows several years ago.
Yep.
I don't know if they still have any left. Maybe you want to check with them. Prairie Shadows out in Winnipeg. Don't think we're doing a new run anytime soon, but maybe, who knows? We could do that definitely. Let's see here. Requests for C424s. Not a bad idea.
Yeah. I like that.
There's a D10 question, Bill. They're really shiny. Any suggestions for kind of dulling them down? Like dull coat or something like that, or some kind of flat finish?
Certainly some flat finish or some weathering. Yes, when these things were, you look at the prototype locals when they were first shopped, it's amazing how shiny they were. But I've actually started going to an acrylic flat finish that I can airbrush onto things, which I find works very well. And you can get, either gloss or matte, or take the two and mix to get your own sheens. So I would certainly start with something like that to bring it down, and some light weathering. Steam local, so stay clean very long.
Absolutely. We get requests for GP40 TCs. I'm sure we'll do them one day.
I think that's come up once or twice.
Well, Go's got an anniversary coming up. What's their 60th is coming up in a couple of years. So, N scale RDCs, maybe one day. We actually have an N scale announcement coming up later this year. We always have our famous Christmas Day newsletter, so we do have something new for N scalers. That's something to get excited about.
We've got a few fun things for Christmas.
We do. Quest for viewliners. We do need to do viewliners one day. I'd like to. It's getting it past the boss, though.
If you'd like to see viewliners, please write to Jason Schron at Rapido.
Yes. Send lots of emails.
That's right.
And tell him they operated in the early 1980s.
Yeah. Specifically December 1980. Someone find a picture of viewliners being leased by CN or via 1980 in Kingston, Ontario, and then we'll have to do them.
There you go.
Photoshop's a great program.
Exactly. Someone was asking about Proto Paint. Unfortunately, Proto Paint is not going to be returning. We had a supplier locally actually in Markham that was actually producing the paint for us, and I think the last batch that they did was just before COVID. It was like 2019, and then the production runs were they made large batches of paint, and the numbers were just too small and too expensive. So unfortunately, we had to put that whole product to bed. But it's fun while it lasted, I guess. So, what else have we got here? Union Pacific SW10s. Oh, we're doing the SW9, so I think we'll do that first. But that's an easy project to do, I think. Well, not easy necessarily, but a lot of carryover.
It's that new SW9 project. I did have somebody ask me about what you did a 1200. Is the last switcher?
Yeah, we did 1200 in the first run.
Is the 9 going to be new tooling on like the hood and fuel tank? Is it completely different, or? And I wasn't sure.
Elements of the chassis are going to be the same, but like we're doing new hoods for Santa Fe in particular. They had that kind of crazy not stacked, but that louver pattern on the side of the hood. That's going to be all new. So that project is still kind of, we got some refinements to do for that before it goes into tooling, but there will be a lot of new tooling for those models.
And a 7 and 9 are almost the same. I had someone telling me about louvers to like the back steps coming out of the cab that's almost the same as 7 and a 9.
In a lot of ways, I'm not the expert on them myself, but there are several differences, and that again will be prototypically specific. So we're going to be going back. I know we just have the kind of the mock-up artwork up there right now, on the website, but we're going to be pretty thoroughly refining those designs in the probably in the coming months, anyways. So definitely there will be some updates coming and some changes. I think we did actually already update some of the artwork. I don't know if that's been put on the website yet, but there's some changes have already been put into place. HO center beams, just those, I think those, when you were in China, had they left yet? Or they were just about to leave?
I'm not sure.
That's a good question. I think they're getting pretty close, probably early in the new year. I know we have a couple of shipments that are supposed to be arriving like the week of Christmas or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and obviously we'll be shipping those out in January, but yeah, we got a bunch of stuff showing up pretty early in January. Got the regular request for Union Pacific or Rock Island, not Union Pacific, Rock Island U25Bs. We've got to do another run eventually. There's a lot of paint schemes we haven't done, so there will be a new release at some point. Something we're talking about already, so
Yep.
That's something to get excited about.
And I have been pulling Rock Island U25B pictures for you all. So yes, I'm campaigning for that as well, and have been sharing those from White River's collection. So whoever's asking for Rock Island, I'm right there with you.
Definitely,
We're getting ganged up on here. I think
Jeff, that's something that you're going to be working on pretty soon
Yep.
too.
Yeah, we digging in on that.
We're kind of looking into what we haven't settled anything yet, but we're looking into what the second release is going to be. Just as a very rough estimate, I can see something coming next year, maybe an announcement next year. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but
there's so many of these locomotives, everything from the 44 ton to the Jeep 38s, the E8s, the PAs.
Oh yeah,
you name it. That had so many roads and paint schemes that it's very common. How come you're not doing this one in the first run? And we can't do it.
Yeah. Boy,
we keep going back to
the U25 was just beautiful. Those early phase, I think it was January's Model Railroad News, which should be landing anytime. That's the cover is just that giant GE face of the early phase. And then I just reviewed the UP and the Frisco. I basically did all the high hoods in that one. And then February, I do some low hoods. But boy, that U25 just knocked it out of the park. Those were beautiful models and ran fantastically. I mean, that's a really awesome addition to your line.
Excellent. And I also need I need my SPs. So
my wallet safe. Yes.
Are you sure they didn't run on the NW or NOW?
Not that I'm aware of. I have to go back and look at my phone. There was a U30, I think. Southern Railway to New Jersey painted up a U30B, I think it was. In,
oh yeah, I seem to
recall W paint. So right.
I think there was one of the wasn't it one of the old the XP and W M420s.
Yeah, Jason didn't want to do it. I can't imagine.
I don't know. Oh yes, the B70 the PCNet B70 boxcars. Those left the factory last month, didn't they? I think they're actually
weeks ago. Yeah, they're on the way, so they should be in stock early this coming year.
They kind of followed me out the door, so yeah, they're on the way.
Yeah, I also need lots of those. So another essential SP cotton belt car. They were absolutely everywhere in the West, and you saw them in Canada too. I mean, you see them in Ontario in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I think Jeff, you said you actually saw some of the 75 class cars not too long ago.
So I think I'm up to this is just as a personal curiosity. I've seen I think 5 to 6 numbers, and I have a 2022 railway equipment register, and in the UP listing there's only 11. So I'm trying to understand how it's possible I've seen that many of the 11, especially knowing that that's already over a year out of date. And I mean, in Chicago right now, UP closed an intermodal terminal and it's stuffed it full of boxcars for scrapping. So how these have not been included is a mystery as well, because they're almost exactly at 50 years right now.
Speaking of projects that you're working on, Bart, I think I seem to recall
Art
you mentioned today
samples
that,
just got sent. Yeah, and we'll have a video update for those pretty soon once we get them, because the exciting thing about those first Bart samples is that they actually have electronics in them. They're not just mold samples. We were able to get the boards in them, so they are functional running samples, and we'll get to really check all that and show it off.
excellent. That's that project's been very popular. We were actually really shocked how popular Bart was, and that's actually even outside of the modeling community, that's gotten the attention of transit enthusiasts and agencies, and opens the door for more transit projects.
Yeah, definitely opens the door for more transit projects, and getting them functional in this first sample round is going to be neat too, because they have a pretty unusual design where the whole motor is under the floor. So they have a very full, complete interior. Given how big the windows are, that helps a lot with the look. So it's going to be interesting to see them working.
Nice. And I guess we'll still take orders on those. Even though the conditional deadline is passed, we'll still take orders on those for a little while longer, and we'll probably set a deadline for those probably in the spring and get them into the factory. How are we doing for time? Getting there. Maybe we go for a few more minutes and then we call it a night. What else have we got here? Any other updates in the meantime from anyone that we haven't talked about? Any other samples hiding in your layout in the engine house back there or anything?
Possibly, yeah. I got an updated 44-tonner sample, but that was just some electronic changes that we were making for lighting boards and so forth. So nothing very exciting to show there.
Are those jumping into production now?
We sent in the purchase order, we sent in the artwork. They've got one little tweak that they're doing, and I just approved the lighting update. So yeah, they're ready to go.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Let's get a couple more questions and we'll call it a night here. Question, I guess it's on the BART. How many trucks are motorized?
So in the power cars, which is the A and the C cars, both trucks are motorized. So with BART, you can buy powered A or powered C, and then all B cars are coaches, just unpowered.
Nice.
That'll be a big factor in the first samples, is just really testing their pull abilities, making sure they're going to be able to do longer consists and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. One more question on the talking about SP stuff, the C40 caboose.
Yes.
This is your 3D printed sample that we had earlier this year, but I think we're gonna.
How did you? I just stuff magically shows up on your desk somehow.
I know. Things just show up on my desk, and sometimes I just don't let them go again. So, I think we have there's still some more work to do on the design, some things to nail down.
Just trying to wrap up some final details, yeah, particularly with some of the changes that happen with them and the lighting. We're trying to really do the lighting. So.
Mm-hmm. That hopefully we'll get some samples probably by the spring. We should have some of those. I need a bunch of them, of course.
Yeah.
Let's do one more question here, and then I think it's that time. Let's do an N scale question. Will we be doing more N scale freight cars? Well, we've got a bunch that we've already announced that have we've got one that's on hold, another one that's actually going into production. We'll see how things go. We've got the Procore 5820 plastic pellet hopper in N scale. Those are actually, we're just going to put those into production, and I think that's going to be happening over the winter. So those will probably be arriving in the spring, and we'll see how quickly those move. We've got the Santa Fe Reefer. We might have to relaunch that one sometime next year. We'll see how the pellet hopper goes, and yeah, we'll see what happens. We do have more N scale coming. There is more in the pipeline. Again, I said I mentioned there's going to be something at Christmas. We're looking at doing a couple other things next year, at least, if not a few more things, and see how they go. So we're keeping the door open. So we'll see
So
how it goes.
one thing there that would be very helpful, we do have a product suggestion form on the
Mhm.
website.
Yeah.
It has become, and I'll probably going to tick somebody off by saying this, but it's become a bit of a standing joke that every time we announce something, they show the very first or second response is, "Why aren't you doing it in N?"
And then
And that covers pretty much everything we've ever done. But on a serious note, if there's particular cars that we've done that you really think would go in N, we do read through those product suggestions, and that's the best way to get us to listen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So the nice thing about the
Let us
form,
know what you think what you'd be interested in as opposed to just
exactly. And that's the thing about the form is it actually collects and it kind of organizes everything by the car, what the model is. And we can say, okay, 72 people asked for this, 4 people asked for that. Something maybe a better idea to go with the other one. So definitely something we can take into account. But yeah. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up for the night? I think everyone's half asleep already. So
yeah, it's about time for dinner.
speechless. Well,
yeah.
thanks for inviting me, guys. Enjoy it. Always fun to see a sneak peek. You can go to, in the last month, I started adding on Model Train Resource on YouTube. You can see unboxing videos, and naturally with all the stuff coming out from Rapido, I unpackaged the RSC14. I just put up the RS18U today. And so I just do a quick take it out of the box, show what you get, and they're just fun things to watch. So check that out if you have time. And as always, take a look at Model Railroad News, and you can find out more shop.whiteriverproductions.com.
Excellent. And maybe I'll share that on our page sometime in the next week, or maybe less than that. And of course, yes, the RS18s are out there. So yeah. Alrighty. So it's been a good show. Lots to show, to say the least.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyways, I think we'll wrap it up at that point. Thanks again. Thanks, Tony, for joining us. And we'll come back hopefully sooner rather than later. Once again, I always say that.
Probably after the holidays at this point.
Yeah, after the holidays, once we're all back to normal, we'll come back again for another show. All right. Thanks for joining me. We will and joining all of us. We will see you next time. Bye now.
Nice advice.
Bye.